Hello and welcome back to IQ Robot Games Camp. My name is Audra and I am another one of your VEX Camp counselors, and I am so excited to be here with you in this session where we are going to learn all about driving the BaseBot with the controller so that you can compete in the fastest lap challenge. So in this session, we're going to learn about all the different ways that you can control your BaseBot with the controller. We're going to learn about some things that we can do to help us become even better drivers or to have better strategy as we're trying to drive our robot. And then you are going to become a robot race car driver in the fastest lap challenge as you try to drive your robot around your very own race course that you design. Now, I can't wait to get through all of that, but we need a few things in order to get ourselves ready, right? So the first thing we're going to need is our IQ kit, as well as the BaseBot that you built after session 1. So you'll need that completely built BaseBot, your IQ battery that's charged, and your IQ controller that is charged. You're also going to need a couple of household items like a book or a small box or a shoe or a roll of tape or anything like that that you can use as obstacles to be able to practice driving around things or to use as obstacles in your course. So pause the video if you don't have any of those things with you right now. Go get all the materials you need and restart when we come back. So now that you have all of your materials, if at any point during this video you need to pause or rewind or take a break, you can do that. So you can pause the video and rewind and replay as many times as you need to in order to make camp work the best for you. So I'm excited to drive your robot. I'm sure you are excited to drive your robot. So let's get started. The very first thing we're going to need to do is be able to connect our battery, our brain, and our controller. So here I have my charged IQ battery and my BaseBot. Now, in order to charge it, you have to take the battery out of the robot. That's why they're not connected right now. So if your battery is already in your robot and it's charged, great. If it's not, you can follow along with me. We're going to slide this battery with the flat side facing up directly into the bottom of the brain there. And we're going to push it in all the way till we hear a click. There we go. Now our battery and our brain are connected. We can see it's not sticking out, but we can still access this little tab. So when we're done driving in this session and we're ready to charge our battery again, we will squeeze that little tab and pull it out of the brain, and then we can access that charging port so that we can charge it some more. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my battery into my brain. I'll press it. I hear that click. And now I'm ready to go. I can also know that things are correctly connected because when I press the check mark on the brain, it will power up. So now we're going to do a lot of things looking at this screen a little more closely. But when we do that, I won't be able to show you the buttons. So let's just talk real fast about what the buttons on our brain are going to do. As you just saw, that check mark button is what we'll use to turn on the robot. We'll also use that check mark button to select different options from the brain screen menu. To navigate between different options, we'll use the left and the right arrow. The right arrow will move our selector to the right and the left will move it to the left. When we want to select something, then we'll press the check mark. And if we want to exit out of something or go back to a different screen or turn the brain off, we'll use the X button. Okay, so now we're going to use those buttons in order to be able to connect our brain and our controller. So before we do that connection, now that your brain is turned on, the next thing that you're going to need to do is turn on your controller. So you're going to press this center power button right here, and you'll see a little green light come on that tells you that your controller is on. Now you can follow along with me as we do the steps on the robot brain. All right, so here you can see the brain screen a little bit more closely. So I'm here on the home screen. I'm going to use the right arrow to move over to settings. And then I'm going to press the check mark to open up settings. Then I'm going to use the right arrow and press it once to open up the link. So that way I can link my controller and my brain. So when I press the check mark, you're going to see this picture of your controller. So this is showing you on the brain screen which buttons on the controller we need to press in order to link our controller and our brain. So on this in this diagram, you can see we're going to press and hold the 2 left buttons on the front of the controller, and then we're going to press the center power button 2 times pretty quickly. So let me show you what that looks like. So here is my controller. I'm going to press and hold these 2 left buttons on the front, and then press this center power button 2 times pretty quickly. You can see that little center light turns yellow and then starts flashing green. And now I can also see that it is flashing green on my robot's brain. In addition, another way to check that they are connected is on the top of the brain screen. You can see that you now have a controller icon with a little battery symbol there that tells you that these things are connected. So now that our controller and our robot are connected, we are ready to drive it. So I'm going to press the X button to exit out of settings. Then I'm going to use the left arrow to go back on the home screen to the very first icon that says Drive. So this is the built-in drive program that's built into your robot. I'm going to press the check mark to open it up, and now we can press the check mark again, and that program will start to run. Okay, so before I press that check mark on my robot, I'm going to set up the space that I am driving in. So I'm going to put down my obstacle in the middle because I want to be able to drive my robot around this book so that I can practice driving forwards, I can practice turning left and right, and I can practice driving in reverse. So we're going to use the controller, we're going to use the drive program, and we are going to drive for the very first time in something called Tank Drive. Now, what does that mean? That means that in order to control my robot and drive it around, I'm going to use both of the joysticks. And the way this works, as you can see in this picture, right, we've got both of our joysticks. The left joystick controls the left motor on my robot, and the right joystick controls the right motor on my robot. So to drive my robot forwards or backwards, I need to move both of those joysticks at the same time. So now I press the check mark, I'm ready to drive. Now to drive forward, I'm going to press both of my joysticks forward together. And to drive in reverse, I'm going to press them backwards together. Now you can see my robot's driving pretty slowly. I'm pressing those joysticks very gently. If I want to turn, to make that first turn around the robot, in order for my robot to turn to the right, the left side needs to move forward and the right side needs to move backwards. So now in order to make this turn around the top side of the book, I need to turn my left wheels forward and my right wheels backwards. Now you can see I drove a little far there, so I'm going to pull it back just so you can see what we're doing. Then I'm going to use both joysticks to drive forward. Now the harder I press those joysticks, the faster my robot moves. But the faster it moves, the harder it is to control. So now I need to drive around again. So I'm going to again push my left motor forward and my right motor backwards. I want to correct a little bit. And then, whoops, too much. And then I'm going to try to drive straight down. Now you can see the faster we go, right, the harder it is to control. So I'm going to keep doing this. And in your space, you are going to keep trying to drive your robot completely around your obstacle without bumping into it. So just like I made a little note here to help me remember how Tank Drive works, you might want to do that. And you may not get all the way around there really easily the first time. That's okay. Take as much time as you need to get around your obstacle using Tank Drive. And then we are going to take a look at some of the other options that we have for driving our robot. So how did it go? Were you able to drive around your obstacle? I'm sure you got there. You're probably a much better driver than I am. Now, Tank Drive is not the greatest drive mode for me. I don't know how well it works for you. But built into that driver control program, there are some other options for ways to control your robot that you might find a bit more comfortable. So now I'm going to show you that brain screen again so I can show you how to change those controls. Then we're going to take a look at what each one of those different types of configurations looks like when we're trying to drive our robot. So once I press the X button, I will be able to close that drive program, and now I'm back at this menu. So I'm going to use the right arrow to move through my options here until I see the one that says Controls. That shows me two pictures of a joystick. I'm going to press the check button to open that, and here you can see that we are set in Tank Drive. where again, this little picture is showing us that the one motor is controlled by this joystick and one motor is controlled by the other. Now, when I press the check button again, you can see that those images change as well as the words. So now we're starting to get into some of our options. We have Split Arcade 1. If I press the check mark again, I get to Split Arcade 2. Then I can press it again to see Right Arcade, or press it again to Left Arcade. And then when I press it again, I cycle back to the beginning with Tank Drive. So now I'm going to change this to Split Arcade 1, and then I'm going to show you what that actually looks like when we're driving our robot. So now that I've set it to Split Arcade 1, I can press the X button to get back out, and now I'm back to be able to start that drive program again. So I use the X buttons in the left and right. I'm going to press the check mark to start my drive program. Now, Split Arcade again uses two joysticks, but this time the left joystick is going to be in charge of turning your robot to the left and to the right, and the right joystick will drive it forwards and in reverse. So if I want to turn my robot, I press the left joystick to turn it to the left, or I press the left joystick and lean it to turn it to the right. The harder I press, the faster it turns. The slower I press, the slower it turns. Then if I want to drive it forward and in reverse, I use the separate joystick. So again, here I made a little diagram that looks very similar to what you'll see in that brain screen, just as a little helpful reminder. So now I'm going to switch modes. So I'm going to press the X button to stop the drive program. Then I'm going to use the arrows to go back over to controls. Now I'm going to switch it to Split Arcade 2. So now if we take a look at that image, which is the same thing that's on our controls here, what do you think that is going to have our controller do to drive our robot? It's very similar to Split Arcade 1, right? But it's reversed. So this time now, I'm going to use the left joystick to drive forward and reverse, and I'm going to use the right joystick, to turn left and turn right. Now, you may notice that if I use the left joystick and I try to turn left or right, nothing happens. If I use the right joystick and try to go forwards and backwards, nothing happens, right? So the right joystick is just for turning, and the left joystick is for driving forwards and in reverse. So now I'm going to switch to the next mode. So we'll press the X button. We'll use our arrows to go back to controls. Now we will go to Right Arcade. So let's take a look at what Right Arcade does. So now take a look at this image. What do we think is going to happen? When I use the left joystick, nothing happens because it's Right Arcade. So all of our controls are on the right side of the controller. So that one joystick controls all of our movement. We lean it to the left and to the right to turn, and we lean it forwards and backwards to drive forwards and in reverse. So now if I switch to the last drive mode, which is Left Arcade, what do you think that is going to do? Did you guess it would do the same thing on the left side? If you guessed that, then you are 100% correct. Now we can use just the left joystick to drive forwards and backwards, as well as to turn left and to turn right. And again, we still have that same slow or fast, depending on how hard we press our joysticks. So now that you've seen what all four of these drive modes are, now you need to figure out which one works the best for you. All different drivers have different styles of driving, right? Everybody has something that's unique to them and something that makes driving their robot feel the most comfortable. So now the same way we drove around our obstacle to test out tank mode, you're going to want to do the same thing to test out each one of these different drive modes. So what you're going to do here in a minute is pause this video, and you are going to drive around your obstacle in every single one of the drive modes. And as you're doing that, you want to pay attention to what feels right for you, right? What feels more comfortable? What feels more uncomfortable? Why? We want to make sure that you have the best chance possible at being the fastest lap. So you want to be driving in the mode that works the best and in the configuration that matches you and your style. So now we're going to pause the video. You are going to go drive and test out your different drive modes and figure out the one that is your drive mode preference. Then when you come back in the next part of your session, you'll learn about some more things that you can do to help you make driving your robot work the best for you as you get ready for the fastest lap challenge. I can't wait to see you back here in a little while.
Welcome back. Again, my name is Elena, another one of your camp counselors, and you have just completed testing out all of the different drive configurations with the BaseBot by driving around an obstacle. So you tested out both of the split arcades, left arcade, right arcade, and tank drive, and now you know which of those driver configurations is your favorite. So now, as we are testing out driving our BaseBot, there's actually a couple other things that can change how our BaseBot drives, which is what we're going to try next. You'll notice on the BaseBot, there are different kinds of wheels. So we have different wheels on the front connected to our motors compared to the wheels on the back. And even in our kit, there's a third type of wheel. So we're going to talk about all three of these types of wheels, how you can change them on your BaseBot, and actually start testing out these wheels and how they change your driving. So as we look at the different wheels in our kit, we have three different types. The first one, let me just take this wheel off so we can see it a little easier. Slide off. We have our travel tire. And now our travel tire is a rubber tire. It's a little bit harder rubber and it has these treads on it. You can see here. If you compare it to other wheels like this one in here, let me grab it. You can see it's a little thinner of a tire, but the travel tire is really good for accurate movement. So making sure that your robot drives straight, the tread will catch on whatever surface you're driving on, and it will help your robot drive straight. So that's our travel tire. Next, the one I was comparing it to, these are the balloon tires. So the balloon tires are really squishy. They're really soft rubber. They're a little bit wider than the travel tires. And these tires, while they are really good for some other types of mechanisms you could add onto your robot, these might make it a little harder to drive accurately because the rubber can slip on these surfaces. But we'll get a chance to test that out as well. And the last kind of tire is our omnidirectional wheel. So our Omni tire. Let me go ahead and put this back on. We want to make sure we still have all of our washers on there so nothing falls off. This is our omnidirectional wheel. So our Omni wheel has these rollers all along the outside, and that makes this tire really good at moving side to side or helping your robot with turns. But it can be a little bit slippery if it's in the wrong placement on your robot. So it's something really cool to keep in mind. So those are our three types of wheels. Now, what we are going to do is we're actually going to test out each of these types of wheels connected to the motors themselves. So you've already tested out the travel tires, but now we can test out our Omni wheels and our balloon tires as well. You'll notice that compared to the travel tires and the Omni wheels, we don't yet have this hubcap connected to our balloon tire. So we need to do that first before we can do any testing. So for that, I need just a few materials. I need pins, so I'll grab my pin case. I need shaft collars from this case here, just like how we put them together in the build instructions for both of these wheels. And I also need those hubcaps. Now their official name is 2x2 center offset round lock beam, which is a handful for sure, mouthful. So I just call them the hubcaps, but you have 2 more left in your kit after you're done building the base bot. And they're right here also in this electronics bin. So now that I have all of my pieces, I can go ahead and move my kit to the side so I have room to make this connection. Now, the first thing we need to do is to take these round lock beams or our hubcaps, and we're going to attach 4 pins to the underside. So there's the side with the dome, and then there's the side that has that insert. So we're going to go on that insert side, and we're going to add 4 pins all around the outside of that hubcap. And then in the center, we're actually going to take a shaft collar and we're going to plop that down. Make sure that it's flat and facing upwards. So what this does is it actually captures the shaft here so that the wheel doesn't move around or slide around. So it helps keep everything in place. Now this part can be a little tricky. To attach it to the wheel, there's the side of the wheel that's flat, and then there's the side of the wheel that has this indent in it. So we are adding the hubcap to the side that has the indent. What I find easiest is I'm going to flip this tire over and put my hubcap underneath, and I'm going to look over and try and line up those holes so I can see that they're lined up, and then I can snap it in from the bottom, and now I can see all 4 of my pins attached. This helps make sure that the shaft collar doesn't fall out. So that's what I like to do when I'm putting these on my wheels. And now we're going to do the same thing for the other wheel. So we're going to add those pins to the underside of our hubcap. 3, 4 pins, and now I can set my pins aside. We need our shaft collar. Make sure that's laying flat. I'm going to close that and set that aside. And now I'm going to take my tire, flip it over so that is underneath. I'm going to line these up so all of the holes are lined up with a pin. It may take a couple tries, and then I'm going to snap it in so I can see all 4 of those blue pins at the back. And now I have my tires all ready to go. So since I've already removed the travel tire from the front, let's go ahead and change those out first. I'm going to put my Omni wheel back on. You want to make sure that you're not losing this very thin spacer here. Line that up, slide it on. This helps with friction with our wheels against the rest of this so the wheel's not rubbing on that plastic. I'm going to go ahead and place a balloon tire on the front. Slide that on, and you can feel there's going to be some resistance. You'll have to put some force on it because that shaft collar is trying to grab on to that shaft. And so we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to take off our travel tire and we're going to pop on our balloon tire. And now we have our robot set up with balloon tires at the front and Omni wheels on the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the same process that Audra showed us in the beginning of this session. We're going to turn on our robot and our controller. We're going to go into our drive program, and you can go over and select whatever drive mode is your favorite. I have it on left arcade, which is great. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to run the project. And now I can drive my robot and see how it feels with these tires. So I'm going to drive it forwards and backwards and left and right. And so now what I can tell from this is I can feel it's very slippery. So it's moving very quickly, my robot. But I could see if I'm going around a turn really quickly, it might skip or skid. So I've tried that out, and now what we can do is we can switch our tires so that our Omni wheels are on the front. I'm going to go ahead and leave my robot on while I change my tires. I'm going to take my balloon tire off. I'll take my Omni wheel off. You'll notice my shaft fell out because I'm moving it to the side. So we're going to have to reinsert that shaft. So if that happens to you, it goes right in the center of this corner connector. You can line it up and it will slide back through right here. I'm going to hold it in place using my left hand. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a travel tire right there on the back. So it's holding in place. And I'm going to do the same thing on the left side of my base bot. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change this tire first. I'm going to hold that shaft in place. And then I'm going to change my front tire to my Omni wheel. So now it's like a backwards base bot. So now my Omni wheels are in the front and my travel tires are in the back. I'm going to run this project again so I can drive my robot. And drive forward, back, left, right. And I can tell now that it's actually having a hard time turning because all of the turning is happening in the front with the Omni wheels instead of being at the back nicely like it was with our base bot before. Now that was just 2 examples of how you can configure your wheels, what you're putting connecting to the motors, and what you're putting in the back. And you're going to have a chance to test even more combinations after you build your own course. This course is going to be your driving course to take what you've learned about driver configurations and about the different wheel types and test them out to make your own track, so you can lap around and test driving. Now, there are so many examples of what your course can look like. Here you can see I have walls around the outside. I have my base bot here in the middle. It has enough room to drive around. And I have obstacles that are cups in the center. So now I have these obstacles and walls that I need to drive around in order to create this course. There's also setups like this that looks more like a bean, things like that. You can use obstacles that we create out of VexIQ pieces or walls that we create out of VexIQ pieces, or you can use things from your house. You'll notice that in all of these different examples of what a course can look like, there's this green V here next to our base bot, and that is how we mark the start of our course. So let's go ahead and build that marker together. To build that start marker of our course, I'm just going to use the structure bin and some pins for that. The first thing is we're going to take out our 60-degree angle beam, which is this green angle beam, which is a great place to mark where you can start your course. But we need some way for it to stand up. So what we can do is we can use this corner connector here, which is a 2-pitch wide, 2x1 offset corner connector. So it's really what I like to look at it for is I'm looking for the taller corner connector that's only 1 hole wide that has 2 places of connection at the bottom. And what I can do is I can take something like a 2x4 beam, snap that in, and then I can take a pin to connect my angle beam to my corner connector. So I'm just going to put that right at the top and put that right in the center of our angle. And now I have a great starting marker for my course that will stand up all on its own. You're going to want to make sure that you build some sort of starting location so that way you know where to go, where to start your robot, and where your course is finished as well. In those examples I showed you of courses, I also talked about the different types of walls that you may want to create. So we're going to go over 2 different ways that you can make walls using your VexIQ pieces. So one way we can build the wall is I'm going to take a 1x4 beam. I'm also going to take one of these large 1x16 beams, another corner connector. I'm just going to use this one for this case because I want multiple points of connection with my large beam, and then some pins. So I'm just going to take my corner connector and put it in the middle of my 1x4 beam, just like that. And then I'm going to take 2 pins for the top of my corner connector over here. And then I'm going to find the center and snap that in. Now that stands up all on its own, and it acts as a small wall that you can use as a guideline in your course. So this is one great way to build a wall. It uses some of the things we talked about for the tallest tower too. Multiple points of connection, having a sturdy base. So you may want to use a larger one, a larger 1x beam if you want to for the bottom. For this, it seems pretty sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that and move that to the side. So we have one type of wall in our starting piece. We also can build another type of wall using something like our 2x20 beam. So I'm going to pull out a 2x20, 2 of these 1x5 beams. And then the other piece I'm going to use is a corner connector that we haven't talked about yet. And these right here, you can see are they're corners. So these are called small chassis corner connectors. So they have 2 connection points at a 90-degree angle from one another. So what we can do is we can put that one of those connection points right in the center of our small beam for each of them, and then connect that to the end of our 2x20. Now you'll notice that if we have both of them on this side, it will fall over. So we want to have on opposite sides to give our wall stability, just like how we did with our tallest tower. So I'm going to put this particular beam on this side of the wall and attach it in that same outside bottom corner spot. And now we have a much longer wall here that you can also use to build your course. Looking back at the examples of the courses, you can see there's a couple common things that you need to have as you build your course. You need to have walls along the outside. That's criteria 1. You need to have a starting point. That's number 2. You need to have some sort of obstacle in the middle. So that's number 3. And 4, your robot needs to be able to fit between the obstacles and the walls. You can see that's true in all of our examples. It has an obstacle, it has walls, it has a marked starting point, and there is room for our base bot between the obstacles and walls. And again, that's true with our third one. So what you are going to do is you're going to go build your own course. You're going to test out every type of wheel from the VexIQ kit as you drive through the course, and then you're going to come back here. Make sure as you drive that you don't hit any walls or any obstacles, and try and pick your favorite wheel combination. And then I'll see you right back here. Amazing! You have completed testing all of your wheels in the course that you designed. So now we're going to put everything to the test. We're going to combine all of the things that you have learned so far in this session and put it together in the fastest lap challenge. So what you need to do is take your best wheel combination, your favorite driver configuration, and you are going to drive through a course 3 times. On each lap, make sure you time how long it takes you to complete that lap, and then your fastest time wins. In order to time each lap on the brain, there's this really cool feature in our Drive program. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the check mark to open the Drive program. And then as soon as I hit the check mark again to hit run, I'll see in the top left corner, this green timer will appear. So now we can watch that green time in the top left corner count up. So as soon as you finish your lap, take a look at what time it is. So let's say right now it's 13 seconds. I'll hit the X. And now I know that my first lap was 13 seconds. And then I can do the same thing for every other lap that you try. Your course must have walls. It must have a clear starting location so it's easy for you to time your laps. There needs to be 3 obstacles in the center, and your robot needs to be able to fit between the walls and the obstacles. So just like our last course, only now you have to have at least 3 obstacles. So you're going to go through, again, you're going to start your robot at your starting location, which you've marked clearly. You're going to drive 1 lap, time yourself to see how long that lap takes. And you're going to do that 3 times. So you have 3 times for 3 laps. So that way you can test and see just how fast you can complete a lap of your course. And then come on back here. Good luck in the fastest lap challenge. Congratulations! You have completed the fastest lap challenge. You drove your robot around your course and figured out just how fast you can drive your robot using different driver configurations and wheel types. Now that we've completed the challenge, you can go ahead and take apart your course. Make sure that you take apart any walls that you've built, the starting location, but leave your base spot built. Before the next session, you need to go ahead and add onto your base spot to build the Clawbot, which is what I have right here. So the base spot is the base portion of your robot, and you're going to build an arm and a claw onto that to use in the next session. Just like with the base spot, the link to the build instructions for the Clawbot is on our camp page right here underneath the description. You'll see Clawbot build instructions. And we also have a video to walk you through how to build the Clawbot, just like we did with the base bot. So you can follow along with that video if you'd like. While you're building your Clawbot, make sure that you take your battery out of your robot. You're going to grab onto that clip and slide it out. Charge your battery and also charge your controller, just like you did in preparation for session 2. Make sure that your controller and your battery are charged and that you have your Clawbot built. And then I will see you in the next session. Thank you.